Sir.
Oh, okay. Well, let me do this really quickly. What's up, everybody? Thank you so much for joining me on this very special occasion. Philly is in the house. Philly is in the house. Philly is in the
Sure.
house. Today, I am joined by this good brother who I am privileged to call my friend, gentleman by the name of Tobi Gadison. Known
Mhm.
Toby for quite some time. And when I say that he is a consummate actor, I'm not just saying that because the brother is my friend. I'm
Yeah.
saying that because this gentleman truly is a phenomenal actor. And again, welcome to a conversation with. My name is Floyd Marshall Jr. I'm your humble host,
Yes.
and I am really excited to talk to this brother today because he's done some things. He has an acting school, so we're going to touch on what it takes to break into this business of acting.
Mm.
But before we get to that,
Yes, sir.
as I was saying before we got live, so how's the wife?
Man, listen, my wife is doing amazing. We just
Beautiful.
celebrated 7 years. Um, I, you know how, all right, so you know how like you see people and they be like, I don't know what I could do if I didn't know if I
Right.
could do this without my truly, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
This all of this is impossible if I didn't have that level of support from the missus. It's everything for sure. So
That's
she's
that's
doing
beautiful.
amazing.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. And
Yeah.
it takes a special type of person to be connected to someone in this industry.
Yeah. Yeah.
It
Oh man,
really
you couldn't pay
does.
me being no single man out in this. I
Man.
say it all the time. It grounds you, man. Like it protects you if you let it. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? If you let it, because I know like in this industry, it's like an access to excess, right?
Yeah.
But for me, and I know others like me, it's grounding, man. It's a safe haven. You know
That's
what I mean? Because
beautiful,
I'm
man.
not out there. Like I'd rather handle my business and then come home.
Yeah, and that's a beautiful thing, man. So
Yeah.
congratulations
Thank you.
on year seven, and hopefully, looking forward to seven times seven more and
Yes, sir.
everything. Because we coming up, me and my wife, we're coming up on year 35. Yeah,
Ooh.
bro, we got some time, man. We got some
Yeah.
time, man. We got
Yes,
some.
sir. I got a
We got
lot to learn from
Yeah,
y'all.
brother. We got decades, so.
Yeah, it's different when you can remember decades. It's
Phew. But
different.
it is, but it is. But let's get to this show. So,
Yes, sir.
ladies and gentlemen, let me give you guys a little background on who Mr. Gaddison is. And this is something that I did not know until I read his bio. Toby Gaddison was born and raised in Washington D.C. and later moved and finished high school in Philadelphia. And while there, he started training at the world-renowned Freedom Theater. A lot of people that I know went to that theater.
Yeah.
After high school, Toby went back to D.C. and attended the Howard University. One of my good friends graduated from there
Teach
to
you.
study music and business. Thereafter, Toby relocated to New Orleans and served as a program administrator for Love Clubs, Lifting Our Valuable Esteem, a
Mm.
youth outreach program that was spread throughout several schools across the New Orleans area, with several commercials and leading roles in plays that toured across the country. Mr. Gaddison landed roles in major movies, which include but not limited to Ray,
Mm.
The Dukes of Hazzard, Just My Luck, Jerry Bruckheimer, and Glory Road. And that's just a few things that
Mhm.
this brother has done. And it's interesting because I watched the clip from the Dukes of Hazzard with you and Jessica Simpson.
That's when I have
And
my waves, Holmes.
yeah, man, yeah. And I must say, sir, that I have to credit you on, staying on book
Thank you.
because I saw that scene and I was like, you stayed on book. Wow. Because Jessica's kind of cute. So I'm like, he stayed on book. I was like, damn, okay. They had a looking like the previous Miss Daisy Dukes. I said, okay, yeah, he did it. But that was a pretty cool scene. So
Yeah,
so let's get started with this. So,
man.
Mr.
Holla at
Gaddison,
me.
how did you get started in this business?
That's a good question. That's a really good question. I think acting wise, I'll give you the short version. Shout out to my good brother Diesel. I was in New Orleans, and I wasn't acting at first. I acted in high school,
Mhm.
like a junior high school or whatever. But then I stopped to do music. And so I was living in New Orleans, living next door to my brother Diesel, who's a music producer. And before he was even Diesel, we lived in what is known as a shotgun house. So he lived on one side, I lived on the other side. And we would make music, play chess, and watch movies every day. I remember it like it was yesterday. I think about this moment a lot. And one particular day, we made music, we played chess, and we popped in the movie. And he popped in Devil in the Blue Dress, right? Now, of course, you know, traditionally, we're all Denzel Washington dudes, and he, you know, and rightfully so, Denzel Washington is forever that dude. But it was Don Cheadle's performance that captivated my mind. And I say out loud, Floyd, Lord, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. And then a week later, that Sunday in church, a woman walks up to me and goes, her name is Tasha Horn Smith. Shout out to her. She goes, I'm starting up an agency. Do you want to act? I said, yes. And then from there, immersed myself in theater. Shout out to my pastor at the time, A. Michael Shaw. He he had this show, and it was amazing. And that's where I started cutting my teeth at. And then immersed myself in theater, and then the film started dropping. Katrina happened, moved to LA, then moved back to Philly, and immersed myself even more theater with everybody that we know, the Brian Anthony Wilsons, the Ozzies, the theater and the X-Cats, Carlo, shout out to Carlo, shout out to Walt, and shout out to Cash Goins, who is just, shout out to all, there's too many Philly people. Shout out to Phil Brown, shout out to Dice and all of them, and there you have it. And then I meet you along the way.
Okay, which is phenomenal. So let's go back to the music. What type of music were you making at the time?
I think what was at the time, I guess our version of soul music. Okay. I studied a little jazz piano and things of that nature. And so we were making that type of music, because at that time in New Orleans, it was a vibe going on. A lot like probably what was going on in Philly around that time, around the early 2000s.
Okay, so you end up going to Howard University to study music and business. So now why Howard? I mean,
there was no other choice.
Okay.
it was no, because my sister actually, shout out to my sister. What up, Kai? She went to Howard first, and if anybody knows anything about Howard universities, man, the homecomings are just legendary. I mean, their roster of people are legendary. Toni Morrison, the whole nine. So for me, there was no other choice, particularly after going to one of her homecomings. I was like, I'm not going to any other school. All of my other friends were applying to like 10 different schools. I only applied to really 2. 1 to Howard University and 2 to Cheney, just so my mom would stop, nagging me. You know what I'm saying? But there was no other school.
Okay. So then you do the acting. Well, you get with the agency in New Orleans, correct? I don't want to get that wrong. Okay. So what were you just basically doing? Local plays, things like that?
Yeah, I was this is what I did. It was one local play. It was at the church I was going to. But then I started being super obsessed with film. So I got a library card, and because there were no acting classes around at this particular time, we're talking about the early 2000s. We talking in the how can I place it, in the Master P Young Money, or not Young Money, but the Cash Money phase, right?
Okay.
So yeah, I went to the library, and this is the DVD era, and I started watching movies by the decade, 20s, 30s, 40s, the 50s, and I just started studying film, what I liked, what I didn't like, what worked for me, what didn't work for me, who was in my type, and I just started really studying film, and I think that advanced me because, I started studying first because there were no classes. So anybody ever comes to my classes or know me, like I study, and that's what got me started.
Okay, so then you went to Howard after that. So now, did they have theater at Howard? Because it said you
I actually went to Howard before that, so they didn't.
Okay.
So I didn't make the decision to do acting when I went to Howard. It was music, and because they didn't have at that time a music business program, because I wanted to be like an A&R. You know what I
Okay.
mean? I wanted to find the talent, develop talent on my own, do my own label thing while I make music and things of that nature. So they didn't have that. They didn't have that offered at the time. So they gave me. I was in School of Fine Arts, and then took classes. The business classes while I'm in school to be, and they just kind of combined it.
Okay.
To the yeah.
Oh, so then you do the act, and then you decided to do the acting thing.
Right.
So let me ask you a question, because you know what? I saw Devil in the Blue Dress, and I absolutely love Don Cheadle's role. So what was it
Mhm.
about that particular role that resonated with you? Because to see, well, I'm going to let you answer that question.
Yeah. He was just electric. He popped on screen. He was fully committed to his character. I don't want to sound actory, but like I believed who he was.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? He was smooth. He had on a hat. He came in, and he was just. It was his eyes. It was the commitment to what he was doing. It's just when he shot the dude. You know what I mean? It was just, and then he was honest when he so he got blood on my coat. Easy, it's a damn good coat. And he goes in and he washes it off. So he exerted so much power in one scene, and then it was the second scene that really had me locked in, because now he's submitted to his friend. Come
Mhm.
on, Easy. I'm I'm gonna try to do right. You know what I'm saying? It
Didn't
was this
work.
right. It didn't work, but it was that dichotomy that he showed that was like, yo, just that range. I was like, yo, that was, and then it was and then the scene at the table when he was drunk, he was just committed in a way
Mhm.
that I haven't seen before. And then when he was getting old boy drunk, because he had lost his girl, he didn't just pour the drink, he poured it like, he was telepathically communicating to Denzel's character, like, yeah, we're gonna get him drunk. We know what we're here for. And without saying the word, I read the whole scene and I was like, yo, I want to do that.
Mhm.
I want to be able to communicate with nothing. Like I want to do do what it did to me. I want to do that to people.
Hmm.
Yeah.
The one thing that I really liked about him in that film was the fact that he was such a powerful character because of where and when that
Yeah.
movie was set.
Yeah.
And for him to be that type of man in that type of environment at that time spoke
Right.
volumes. He was like, I don't give a flying about these
Right. Right.
people.
Right.
You see what
Right.
I'm saying? And
Right.
he just didn't care. And that really resonated with me. So let's
Mhm.
fast forward. So
Mhm.
you're in Philly
Mhm.
and you enter Freedom Theater.
Mhm.
Now, how did that happen? Had you heard about Freedom Theater upon arriving? Because you're kind of immersed in the acting thing now, and then you get to
Yeah.
Philadelphia. So how did that transpire?
So when I moved from DC, it wasn't until like I want to say I got involved in like the 10th grade,
Okay.
because my mom was trying to supplement. Like the school I was in before was a private school. I got kicked out. Shout out to Friend Select. I got kicked.
You got kicked out of Friend Select.
It was a hardcore transitionary time. I mean, it was
Okay.
the age of Public Enemy. You know what I'm saying? I was just screaming that, and I had a whole lot of but no balance. So
Okay.
you know what I mean. So I was screaming, "Fight the power," but my algebra grades sucked. My grades was trash, so I didn't have any substance to balance you know what I'm saying, to battle the radicalness. And so they were like, sandwiches, all right. And they kicked me out. So then, but I was still, because in DC, it was all about the performing arts.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? I was heavily immersed in the performing arts in DC. So my mom wanted to supplement that. And so quite naturally, when it comes to theater and children and the performing arts and theater, you in Philly, and plus we grew, my mom moved to North Philly. So if you're in North Philly, there's only one stop to go. There's only one place to go, is Freedom Theater. And so I went through there. And then when I finally came back to Philly after being in LA or what have you, I decided I was like, okay. And then I'd already started doing like outreach work in New Orleans with the Love Clubs or what have you. And so I wanted to keep it going. And I saw, what, the help that Freedom Theater needed at the time. And then, I'm grown now, having some world experiences. And so I wanted to get involved in Freedom Theater. And, we did that.
Okay, beautiful, beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to talk a little bit about a film that you were in.
Mm-hmm.
Phenomenal film by a good brother, Sky Dennis.
Shout out to Sky. Shout out to Sky.
You had some pretty good people in that movie.
Yeah.
Myra's Angels. That was a phenomenal role,
mm-hmm.
brother. You really, you put it down in that film.
Mm-hmm.
What was your preparation like for that movie?
My preparation for that movie was a couple of different things. One, the character, what I knew early was he was addicted to some kind of way. He got addicted to heroin, right? Which I had to, of course, figure out. And then he was a street dude. And so I had, growing up with North Philly, you're, what I'm saying, you there, you may not participate, but you there and you know what it is. And, we have people, we have these experiences. And one of the things that I learned by watching Johnny Hobbs and talking to my brother Kazir was, one, most people play the profession and not the personality of the character. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So I wanted to get to who he was as a human and just let it be understood that these were his circumstances. That was the first part. The second part was, okay, he has this addiction and why. Without giving the story too much away, that was just a trigger point. My backstory was that he got into a car accident because he got drunk from guilt because of a certain event that turns the story. And then, the Oxycontin that they give you, the pain medicines that they give you in the hospital are not enough. You know what I mean? And so you get addicted to that and it gets too expensive. So the next thing you go to, or the pathology of addiction, leads you to heroin. And then I started studying. So I heard this quote, and that was a quote that drove me. It said, people don't get high to get high. They get high to, get away from a low. Mm-hmm. And so in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, let me investigate that low. What is his low? You know what I mean? I didn't want to play the obvious him high. I wanted to play his depression. I wanted to play his mm-hmm. guilt. I wanted, his self-guilt. I wanted to play his torment in his mind. Because he's still guilty. He didn't, even more so, as much as, heroin makes people feel good, as it was described in one cat. He said it felt like the breath of God. What? That's how it feels like to certain people. And then I started researching heroin addicts and just the slow candlelight melt that they go into. You know what I mean? And then the biggest thing was I panhandled. I grew my face out, put the thing on, and then walked around the street, suburban station, all in West Philly, looking homeless. Sitting in. I spent nights in suburban station, and the thing that made it ridiculous was seeing people willfully ignore you. Mm. What that felt like to have society look you dead in your face and keep walking. Mm. You know what I mean? What did that feel like? You know what I mean? Like depression is depression, but depression has a metaphysical, and anxiety has a metaphysical weight. So I imagine what was like in A Christmas Story. You know how he had that ghost, his boy Marley had the chains on him. I wanted to name each chain. You know what I mean? What it was, his guilt, and then specify what, because that's his reality. Mm-hmm. Now, he may not walk around like, I'm feeling this way because I'm and all of that. But for me as an actor, I have to figure that out and own it in the exact same manner. What is this thing? And have a relationship with it.
Wow. See, that's why that part was so damn good. Mm. Because you embodied what that thing was, little, disclosure, both my older brother and sister mm-hmm. are recovering addicts. You know, they've
Mhm.
been clean for, you know, a very long time, but they
Mhm.
still call themselves addicts because they're always in that thing.
Mhm.
And, you know, you would see certain type of behavior
Mhm.
from addicts, and they're very free, you know, when they talk about, you know, some of the things that they dealt with. And then, you know, me driving through West Philadelphia a lot and having to pick up methadone patients, I hear
Mhm.
a lot of stories.
Mhm.
So your depiction was spot on. But let's talk about, and that really leads me into my next question,
Mhm.
which is about you starting your own acting school.
Mhm.
Why did you do that?
Mm. Um, Two reasons. The first reason, good question. The first reason was I was teaching with shout out to Nakia Dillard and I Can Acts in Philly. And shout out to Bernard Glenkoski. I was teaching at both their programs. And the last program I taught at was Bernard's school. And I just wanted to take it a different way. I saw a side of the actor that wasn't being serviced. I saw what made me how I am and what I was that wasn't necessarily being done in the way that I want to do it. I wanted the liberty and freedom to, you know, to build a platform of my own, and I had a vision. You know what I mean? And instead of, you know, clashing with another person's vision, one, I wanted to establish my own. You know
Mhm.
what I'm saying? Two, and this what kicked it off. Shout out to Dave Van Loan. Dave Van Loan at the time was a young black kid. Well, is a young black kid. Well, he's grown now, but at that time he was 17 years old. He had just started acting. He came up to me like after his term was over, what have you. He goes, "Tob, I just want to let you know that this is I love this class. This is my last class, and I don't have any money I don't have any money to continue. So," and I was like, "Dave, so what are you going to do?" And he goes, "Well, if I'm not acting, I'm gonna be in the streets. So, you know, I like boxing, but boxing don't turn me on like acting. So that's what I'm gonna do." And so a week later, I opened up the Actors District so that Dave doesn't have to be in those North Philly streets. So at least 3 days out of the week, he has a place to go. You know what I mean? And I didn't trust his education in nobody else's hands but mine. So I
Mhm.
didn't want to refer him to nobody. I wanted, and I felt that way and I feel that way with every actor. You know what I mean? Like I know my giftings, you know what I mean? And I wanted to create a platform for actors to get, you know, train right. I wanted to create a platform where they're safe creatively, because a lot of training can be abusive. You know what I mean? The whole ideology of tearing them down and building them back up. I don't subscribe to that. You
Mhm.
know what I mean? Because the confidence that you need to create and get over your own insecurity and your own mind at times as actors, it can be very, very, very fragile.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? Because we are ideally cracking open from the inside out. And so there is no greater vulnerable place than putting my ideas out there for the comment section to ridicule. It's crazy. You know, as actors, we're willful schizophrenics.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? And so I felt like actors needed a way. Plus, I wanted to create the Motown of acting programs. Train actors, train writers, production, bomb. And that's what we're working to do.
Oh wow! So you train writers, and now you're also teaching them how to actually produce their own works.
Well, that's what we're doing. Like, I don't necessarily train writers. We've just established a writer's room for our actors.
Oh.
So we curate the actors, and then we take the actors through what we call and what we've developed at the Actors District, a formula, and we run them through the processes, just like Motown. And then we have, you know, our writers right. When we have some phenomenal actors, and we have a phenomenal formula that gets us where we want to go. And right now we are working on developing a stronger production leg. So that's why when you say, yeah, you know, get your sound right and the little tidbits that you drop on your IG and social, I listen because those are the exact same things that we're trying to master and get correct.
Okay. Okay. So let's talk about getting into this game.
Mm-hmm.
I shall call it.
Mm-hmm.
When you get someone that first comes to you and they say, okay, Mr. Gadison or Toby, or however you know have them
Mm-hmm.
refer to you, I want to be an actor.
Mm-hmm.
What do you say to them? Because everybody has this idea,
Right.
but they really don't know the reality of it. So
Mm-hmm.
so what do you say to them when they come to you fresh, green? They've never done anything before. What do you do with them?
Man, that's a really good question. Uh, uh, it's circumstantial, but let me just, you know, address it overall. Overall, I'll say at that point, immediately become a student of human behavior. Watch people right out the gate. Watch yourself, watch people. Pay attention to what they say, how they say, pay attention to the circumstances that they're in. Start asking questions, become a detective. And then, you know, watch good movies and plays and things of that nature, of course, but watch human nature, because everything that we do as actors is just a recreation of what people would do in real life. Act in a real way under imaginary circumstances. That adage is a truism, regardless of how ridiculous the situation may be, because truth is stranger than fiction. But watch life, and then we build from there. And then, you know, we ask questions like Uda Hagen, who are you? What's the time of day? What do you want? What does your character want? And there's all different kinds of wants. What is your overall want in life? What is your immediate want? What is a conditional want? Because those change in the, you know what I mean, in the process. You know what I mean? And what are those things? And just start, you know, asking those types of questions.
Yeah, because you said something very interesting about real life. When I was on that side of the business,
Mm-hmm.
the one thing that I would tell actors when I was actually writing, nothing writes like real life.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing.
Right.
What happens in real life, you can't make that ish up. You really can't. Any
Right.
scenario that you can think of, and then even ones that you can't, are going to happen in real life. So that's interesting that you tell them to, you know, study human behavior, which is the best school of all, because you could just sit on. I remember one time I ran into Darrell Lawrence.
Shout out to Darrell.
In South Philly. We were coming from somewhere. I think we were coming from an interview. Us, Karen Waller Martin, because I think we were just about to do the award show.
Right.
And Darrell was sitting on a bench with a pen and a pad. And I was like, yo, what's going on? He was like, hey, what's going on? Derek Hammond has joined us.
Shout out to Derek Hammond.
What's up, good brother? But Darrell was sitting on the bench and he's like, all right, Floyd, I'm gonna get back to watching these people, because he was just about to drop a new play. So he was just, you know, studying people on the street. So what do you say to people that come to you with a preconceived notion of how acting is supposed to be? You know, well, I saw this, well, I heard this, as opposed to, because it is your school. And I'm sure that you do things a certain way. So do you ever get actors that come to you, they've been trained somewhere else, and you get pushback from them? How do you handle that?
Oh, I love it. I love the pushback, because you get it all the time. But I don't shy away from the pushback. I love it. I embrace it. I actually, in some sadistic way, encourage it. You know what I mean? Because it's all perspective. You know what I mean? Like it's all healthy debate. It's all healthy. You know what I mean? Because hopefully brand new ideas come out of that. So if they come in, push back, because what I ultimately leave people with is this. It's like I approach this game like Bruce Lee, right? And when he created Jeet Kune Do, you got a little bit of kung fu over here, you got a little bit of this over here, you got a little bit of that over there. So it's an amalgamation of like a lot of different styles. Same thing with acting. Yeah, I mean, like there's in mathematics, you know what I'm saying, or what have you. There's a lot of different ways to get to the number 4. You know what I mean? Like, so whether you're using Uta Hagen, whether you are, whatever technique you use or what have you, if it works for you, it works for you. Because the bottom line is, like, like they say, Occam razor, situation is, we only use it to do one thing, Floyd, and that's be believable.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever is the healthiest choice for you, whatever works for you, work it. I feel like you want to be the Swiss Army knife of the art form. Have many different ways. My way might be extreme. I'm growing my face out. I'm, smoking cigarettes, walking in West Philly. So that may not work for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
That may not be safe for everybody. It may not be safe for me, but it's what I chose in the moment. You know what I mean? Like, certain forms of, or the whole of method acting. Stanislavski himself said, yeah, man, y'all are bucking. Y'all still doing that? You know what I'm saying? So, but if it works for a person, it works for a person. So, and I feel like actors should, just like in life, understand the perspective of a lot of people's opinions. I don't argue to be right. You know what I mean? I want to understand perspective.
You know what? That right there, what you just said, is something that I share with young couples that are just getting into heavy relationships, or they've just got married and they may be having problems.
Mm-hmm.
And I ask them what you just said. I ask them, are you arguing to be right?
Mm-hmm.
Or do you want to be in love?
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, you can't do both. Because if you're arguing to be right, then basically what you're looking to do is put your opinion onto that other person and basically crush them. Yet you're not allowing them to grow. And I guess you just kind of clarify some things that acting is the same way. So have you ever had any actors lead you? Because I've watched some of your videos, and you guys are very intense. So have you ever had any actors leave because the intensity level was too much, or what you expected of them was too much?
Possibly.
And speak to that, the expectations that you have.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, possibly, probably. You know what I'm saying? Like, I used to early on, I used to bother me. I used to care a whole lot about that. Mm-hmm. But now I don't. Like, I don't, I care, but I don't get caught up. Let me say that. I care, but because you never know why a person comes, for a season, for a reason, whatever, that old adage or what have you. But as long as they're there for a week or two or whatever, just like with anything, yeah, I mean, it's true. Everything ain't for everybody. You know what I mean? And you might just be there for a certain amount of, period of time, or for a long time, or what have you. But, however long you're there, I'm going to give it my expectation. I'm going to give it my all, 100%. Number two, my expectation is, to answer your question, is honest effort. I just want to see you, try. I want to see you work. You know what I mean? Your growth may not be, oh, you're off to the moon. It may be very small and very incremental. I don't care. I don't care if you have a horrible day of class, but if you work hard, it's like what Philly taught me. If you work hard, you put all your win, lose, or draw, put your all out on the court. You know what I'm saying? That's a thing, Philadelphia taught me to respect and understand and embrace. So that's all I want to see. You know what I mean? I want to see a student work hard. I want to see a student, give their all. And it may not necessarily be what somebody else may see. So a lot of times I'll say when a student may not do as well as they thought they wanted to do in the scene or a monologue or through their exercises or what have you, I'll say good work. And they'll be like, well, what are you talking about? You dogged my whole, you dogged my whole performance. No, but what I did is see you work. You put in good work. You know what I mean? You tried. You may not have, but that effort was there, because that effort will lead and it'll generate and more effort, and you'll have your a lot of and it'll come together. And then the next time you get at it, you're going to get it. You know what I mean? You as an instructor, it's important to be patient in another student's process. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And yeah.
Yeah, and that's interesting, because the thing about, and everybody wants to get to that thing very quickly. Mm-hmm. And it never works that way. Because what you're teaching them is it's a slow building process.
Yeah, man.
Because if you look at a construction site, you may pass that construction site on your way to work for 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 months. And right. The first time you drive by the construction site, it's just a bunch of weeds. The next time you drive by the construction site, they digging up the ground. The next time you drive by, they doing some things, and they pouring some concrete. The next time you drive by, ain't nobody there because they let the concrete dry. Then the next time you drive by there, they driving pillars into the ground.
Right.
That's the same thing with acting.
Yes,
You're building them. But sometimes they don't see that. So the fact that you encourage them and tell them good work, and they're like, well, what are you talking about? And it's interesting. I was listening to John Maxwell and James Clear today. Mm-hmm. James Clear wrote a book, Atomic Habits. I have it, but I couldn't find it. And he talked about the fact that you can keep doing a thing and not see a difference. I'll give you what he talked about. He talked about an ice cube, and he said you could be in a room with an ice cube and it's 25 degrees Celsius. Mm-hmm. You could turn it up a degree, you could turn it up a degree, and you keep turning up and you don't see a change. And then you turn the temperature to 34 degrees Celsius and the ice cube starts melting. But what he was saying was the ice cube was slowly melting the entire time.
Right.
But when it hit that 34 degrees, that was the catalyst for the change.
Right.
Which was always taking place, but that was the tipping point. So do you see that with actors when you see them, and then what happens when they hit that aha moment? When they've been at that 25 degrees and the 26 degrees, but then they hit that 34 degrees. What's that like?
It's number one, it's exhilarating because it lets you know that you ain't crazy. Mm-hmm. And number two, you see a growth spurt. Like, wow. You know what I mean? And that's really, really fun to see, because now you get a chance to see what hopefully as an instructor you've seen all along, and now it's coming to fruition. And now you see that student getting in contact with that feeling, and you see him blossom, and like it makes you feel good because you were allowed to be a part of that process. Like, it's a humbling thing. Like, I really feel like God allows me to be a part of that process. Because can you imagine the celebrities or the artists or the actors that we love that inspired us not having somebody to, be with them in their process? You know what I mean? Like, there are kings and there's king makers. And I really enjoy, I'm a king. Don't get twisted. You know what I'm saying? But I like being a king maker. And in a lot of ways, again, like Bruce Lee, Bruce Lee kicked a whole lot of ass, but he also instilled. And I think that's important.
Yeah. And what's interesting? The people, if they looked at it in this way, you kicked my ass, but can I ask you a question? How did you do that move?
Right.
And if more people would approach it from that standpoint, yeah, I lost, but there's so much I can learn from the loss. I'm not only learning what not to do. If I'm peeping you and I'm watching your moves, I'll say, okay, so if I want to be a winner, that's what I have to do. But let's talk really quickly about how do you approach with your actors the conversation of professionalism? Because your actors have been in some films, and you know, what's that conversation like when they're going on auditions? You know, do you give them any advice on, you know, this is the way to act, this is, you know, the time you should show up? So
Yeah.
what's that process like?
Yeah. Shoot, we go through all of it. You know what I mean? And I think what helps is having one, I know for me specifically, having like an amazing squad with you, right? So, you know, that serve as amazing examples of what the art form is in the craft. So with that being said, like I want to shout out Christine Dancy, Tyler Jones in the Philly location, and then my partners down here, Antonia Nicole and Wade Whaley. Like the students see these people and how they move, and they are so successful in their own right in different areas of the industry. So we like to serve ourselves as examples of how to do it, what to do, how do you, it's a business, right? So how do I understand myself as a service and a product? You know what I mean? And so we go through all of that. Like, what's my type? How does the industry see my type based on what's already out there? You know, how does my particular skill set, my service, my product, my who I am, what I look like, and what I do, how does that fit into the marketplace? How do I work it? Because best believe that they will. And so when we have these conversations, and they'll get those conversations through everybody, whether you're in Philly, whether you're in Atlanta, whether you're, you know, we have those conversations all the time, because our goal is to not only aesthetically make your art form right, but, you know, make sure that you have a strong understanding of the other half as well, because you could be popular and still be mediocre. We say that all the time. And how do I keep myself from being that way? Yeah.
Now, you said a couple of things. I wanted to run around the block a couple times.
Yeah.
Because you talked about the business of this business. And oftentimes, when I talk to a lot of filmmakers, that's something that they kind of want to gloss over. And I just love the fact that you talked about the business of this, because even when I'm talking to actors, I tell them, you are the product, and you are selling yourself. So put yourself in the casting director's shoes.
Right. Perspective.
And their perspective. When you walk into that room, what's the presentation?
Right.
It's no different than if you were to go to dinner at a 5-star restaurant and they just throw the plate on the table. You're not eating there. So it's the same thing. And I'm going to ask you this. I'm not going to make the comment. I'm going to ask you this. How important do you think time management is when it comes to being an actor?
I'm going to say that, well, I'm going to answer that, but I'm going to preempt it with this statement. It's like what Paul in the Bible said. Listen, I'm telling you these things, not that I have attained them. I'm just letting you know this is the ideal, right? So with that, I say it's the most important thing in the world. Not that I've mastered it by any means, but it is time management is the most important thing in the world, because you got your real life, you managing your business because you are a business, and the more you know, you understand, or the more I understand business principles, the more I apply it, the more it makes sense. Like down to the headshots, color coordinating your headshots, because there's not a product on the market that hasn't had a focus group to color coordinate what the feeling that they want you to have when you walk down the grocery store. So when you present your headshots or your demo reel or whoever, it's a feeling, you know, type of a thing. So it's time management. Time management is the most important because you got to manage your life. You got to manage your business. Then there's work-life balance. I mean, I'm married. You know what I mean? Look at you, you're 35 years in. I'm only 7 years in. And so I have to balance the demands of, number one, my development, number one, the business, number three, I have responsibilities to my partners. And then 4, I have myself. 5, I have my marriage. You know what I'm saying? Happy, happy spouse, happy house. And I like peace under my roof.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It helps me get things done because I don't have, thank God, knock on wood, you know what I mean? I don't have that level of drama, so it allows me. So I like to keep it that way. You know what I mean? So time management is everything because you can give money away. You can win money, you can lose money, but you can't win or lose time.
No, you cannot.
I mean, you can lose time, but you can't get it back.
That's what you cannot get it back. You cannot get it back. So with that kind of leads into a question that just popped in my head when you said that.
Mm-hmm.
How important do you stress? And I know you do this, but see, I'm asking this out loud because this is how do you break into acting? And I want young actors or people thinking of getting into this business, I want them to hear it out your mouth.
Okay.
How important is it when you're telling your actors about auditions? How important for them is it to show up early, to get prepared? I know the answer to this, but I want them to hear it from someone who has 2 acting schools.
Yeah, on time is late. On time is late. You want to show up at least, and here's why, a good 30 to 15 minutes early. I say a good 30. I try to make it a practice because here's the thing. What you figured out at your house is a different comfort level than the actual physical room of the audition. So you want to be able to get into the room or the building, what have you, and get used to just the building, period, the room, the environment, period. Because the reason why you were able to hit those notes and those moments at home because you were comfortable. Now, when you get into the rehearsal space, you see this person, you see that person. Your mind is you're in your head all of a sudden. You see that person that look like they know what they're doing. This person looks like they know what they're doing. Now you sizing people up. You're not really trying to. It's just the mentality. So it's mental warfare when you get into that audition room. And then when you finally get into the actual room, there's the metaphysical weight of attention and you're still in your head. And then now you're trying to recreate those moments that you had in your room on the spot in the audition. It's not going to happen because first you got to just allow the room to soak in so you're comfortable enough to bring it, whatever that it is. And so getting there early, not only that, the professionalism. You want to be professional because it is a business. We hate when people are unprofessional. So why do we think that people would hate, they wouldn't expect the same thing from us, is to be professional on time. You know what I mean? And not to be professional, but you want to give yourself the best shot to be able to give the best performance, not get the job, but give the best performance. Because that's how I view auditions. At least I try to. I don't go in there trying to get the job, even though I want the job or what have you. I feel like if I treat this as a performance and I give the performance, because, God's universal law is if you give, you receive. So I feel if I give myself the time, if I give myself the time to get there early, give myself the time to prepare, and I give my all to move whoever is in the room and connect to them in a genuine level, then, hopefully I'll receive something back.
Yeah, that's deep. And that is so true. I remember years ago, I went to the American Black Film Festival and I took Bill Duke's acting class. Unbelievable. And a couple of people showed up on time. And that's exactly what he said. He said, on time is late. And they were like, well, the class doesn't start till 9 o'clock. And everybody was like, first of all, the man just told you something. And now you're giving them feedback. Not good.
Right.
Not good. But that is so true because when I would audition, I would show up at least an hour early.
Mm-hmm.
because I just wanted to sit there.
Yeah, and soak in the environment.
And I wanted to see. And I also wanted to see who else was in that room.
Mm-hmm.
And I also wanted to listen to what was going on in the casting room, because you can hear, you always want to give yourself as much grace and space as possible, because you never know what may happen. Because here's what I've seen happen being early at auditions. They may call you in early to read with someone.
With someone else. Right.
Are you busy? What are you doing? Right? Oh, I'm not doing it. Can you come in and read some sides? So you just never know. Or if you get there early enough, they could call you early, have you go sit back out, and now you have that extra time. They may call you back in to read another character.
Right.
You just never know.
And it's the micro things too, because you will hear a lot of casting directors say this, that a large part of the audition is them figuring out, is this person going to be a problem on set, or will they be enjoyable, for however long they're on set? Can I depend on them? If I'm running this production, do I have to worry about them being there? Well, no, because now I'm building up social evidence to say, he showed up on time at the audition. This person is always showing up on time. I don't have to worry about them. I don't have to worry about any prima donna entitled attitudes on set. They're good money. They're going to be a burden lifter instead of a burden bringer. I'm going to have fun with this person on set. And that's everything. You'll get jobs just off of being able to pivot and being flexible and having a fantastic attitude and being a joy to be around. Not that that you're being fake, but teamwork really does make the dream work. You know what I mean? You are good. You're in it with everybody else. You're in the foxhole with everybody else. So you don't want to come in bringing problems. And why? Why shoot yourself in the foot? You don't want to be the problem. Because if I'm the problem, what happens is business decision, right? This is a business, right? And I tell my students this: if you leave somebody with a ugh type feeling, human nature suggests that feeling, ugh, I associate that with your name. I associate that every time I hear your name. The way my brain is wired, I'm feeling the ugh. I associate that with your face. So if I think about you, ugh. And that pulls me back from making the buying decision of, yes, I want to spend my time. Yes, I want to. Yes, I want high. Yeah, you know what I mean? So anytime you do that, it's again a natural human behavior. If you eat a food and you go, ugh, and you had a bad experience with that food or restaurant or product or service, what's going to happen? Every time any reference of that experience pops up, I don't like that because last time I was there, because how does that saying go? People remember how you make them feel.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you make me feel some kind of way subconsciously,
No, you're absolutely right. And that is why it is so important to just be nice. You can get parts just being nice.
Be cool.
Because again, just like you said, for people that are not in this business, the average day on set is 12 hours.
Right.
Average. That's on the low end.
Right.
So I think I want to be around people for 12, 14, 16 hours that I like.
Listen, when you have X amount of dollars on the line, production is behind, you're over budget, things ain't going right. You know what I mean? You got to piece things together. There's a lot of fires and a lot of troubleshooting you have to do. And you're in like hour 9 and you're behind. The last thing that you want to deal with is somebody that's not going to, make that experience bearable. I got to worry about you too.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Or you're adding more stress to the stress that I'm already dealing with as a director, as a DP, as somebody in production. You know what I mean? As whoever that's, spearheading and have and dealing with the weight of the responsibility of the production that's not on the actor's shoulders or the PA's shoulders. You know what I mean? Or whoever's shoulders. It's like, I'm trying to get this film to the finish line. And if any filmmaker knows how hard it is just to get to the finish line, because there's a lot of unknown knowns and known unknowns.
So last question on that right there. So what would be your advice to anyone who may have had a situation on a set where they ran into that moment and, now people have a bad taste in their mouth because of this person? Is there a way back, do you think?
Yes.
Let these young actors know.
All right. So I was just talking about this to Christina Faith yesterday. Shout out to you, Christina.
Oh, Christina. Hey, Christina.
Yeah, we were talking about this. It's, it's your reputation, right? Like, like there's a beautiful line in scripture that says, it's better to have a good name than riches. You know what I mean? And so what I mean by that is, if you ever watch Shark Tank and you pay attention, they'll say things like, or you read a business book or two, they'll say things like, if a customer has a bad experience with you, then you have to double, quadruple down their good experience with you just to blot out that ick. So now there's a whole lot of work that you have to do to re-educate and regain that, that thing back. But you can do it. It just takes, it's just harder. You know what I mean? People have to see the change in you. You have to, in other words, you have to put in more social currency in the game to sway their mind back to it being favorable to you if that happens. You know what I mean? So there's like triple, quadruple the work. It's like when Kias first came out, everybody crapped on Hyundais and things of that nature, but they actually are now a pretty good brand, but that stigma sticks with you. Look at everybody. And then the business is small. This business, everybody knows everybody and people talk. If you're a difficult person to deal with, I recently had this situation. There was a well-known actor, and this movie was being made down here in Atlanta, and the casting director got switched out because she suggested this big-time actor. This is not a gossip rag, so I'm not dropping no names. Just know it was a prominent dude, and the executive producer goes, well, when I agreed to hiring this actor, I got so many calls saying, don't work with him. Bad attitude. They're going to make your situation, blah, blah, blah. Because people talk. Yo, what do you think about this person right here? What do you think about them? I get those calls all the time. Yo, one of your actors came through an audition. You know what I'm saying? What's the skinny on them? People talk. And not, so you want to make sure that, you're reputable. And everybody makes mistakes and things of that nature. And no, nobody's perfect, but people's expectations are that demand that you be perfect or what have you. But nobody's perfect. But yes, there's a way back, and it's embedded in your work ethic. I mean, if Robert Downey Jr. can make it back, anybody can make it back.
Yeah, but the best way to not have to make it back is to do your best to do the right thing. Be the type of person that you're being spoken of even when you're not in the room.
Right.
I was in LA a couple of weeks ago at the Micho Film Festival, and I met a phenomenal filmmaker from Philadelphia. And I was just standing and I overheard them talking, and they said Philly. So I immediately turned around. Mm-hmm. Oh, you from Philly? I'm from Philly. Then, I went on to Instagram and we got some mutual friends. So I introduced myself.
Yeah.
And when I told her my name, she said, I've heard of you. I said, I hope it was in a good way. She said, a very good way. Mm-hmm. And that's what you want. And it doesn't take a lot.
Right.
It really doesn't.
Mhm.
If you, I'm going to ask you this because I'm not going to make a comment on it.
Hmm.
How big are you with teaching your actors? And this is going to be the last question. Then I'm going to ask you what's next. How big are you teaching your actors integrity? I know the answer because I know you,
Right.
but I want them to hear it for the folks that don't know.
Um, it's of the utmost importance. It's the biggest thing. It's the biggest thing. It's the only thing. It's the only thing, because it's trust, right? In business, just in life, period. Trust goes. You want to be able to be trusted to do good work, and you want to be. Let me reverse that. You want to be trusted for being and doing the right thing, because people can also trust you to do the wrong thing. You know what I'm saying? Oh, I know he gonna do that. See, told you, just like clockwork. So trust, integrity is everything, because again, that goes into just having a good name, being dependable. Now, are we always that way? Yeah, you know what I'm saying? We're all a villain in somebody's story. However, overall, the goal is to make sure that your integrity is intact. You know what I mean? If you make a mistake, own up to it. Sometimes apologizing sometimes can be the easiest thing or the hardest thing to do, or what have you, and keep it pushing. But at least make amends where you can make amends, and then try to do the right thing. It's the most important thing. Because you want to trust that chair is going to hold you up when you sit into it. So you want to make sure that when people deal with you, you want to be, what I mean? You want people to be able to trust that you're going to be and do what you say you're going to be and do.
You're going to be and say who you are.
Right.
Because like you said, man, this is a small business, and everybody knows everyone, or they know someone who
Right.
knows that person.
Right.
It's all that 6 degrees. Sometimes the 6 degrees of separation is 1 degree.
Right.
And it's yo, look, I was at a party with Eli and Lou the other day. We had an appreciation party for some things we're doing with the Philadelphia Film Factory.
Yeah, shout out to
here.
them.
Yo, I'm on an elevator with one of the volunteers, and she says, "Do you know such and such?" Turns out we've been co-workers for 30 years. She's his neighbor. Now, I didn't know this.
Right.
And I could have been at the party just like blowing him up. But see, everybody knows everybody. That's why it's always good to do the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
But Mr. Gadison.
Yes, sir.
What's next on the agenda?
Oh man. So well, me as an actor, I have a Christmas film coming out that I shot in Houston. Shout out to Houston. Shout out to Leah Pride. Shout out to that film. So be on the lookout for that. It's called Love by Chance. I'll actually be back in Philly this weekend and all next week. So shout out to them. We're looking to really reinforce and do some incredible things at the Philadelphia location at the Actors District. Shout out to our instructors there, Christine Dancy and Tyler Jones. If you know these people, they are amazing, amazing instructors and great people. A lot of what we're talking about. So building that up. And then here in Atlanta, man, we have a lot of things that we want to film. Our writers are writing, our actors are acting. If you're in Atlanta, that's what's next. Building up the Atlanta program. Shout out to my partners down there. Shout out to Antonia Nicole. Shout out to Wade Whaley Jr. And they help, and everybody. And shout out to Skylo Affiliates, our front office team. Shout out to them. And shout out to Sean and Warren. That's what's next. Building the Actors District, building that up, releasing original content, and keeping our eyes on location number 3.
That's beautiful, man. That's beautiful. Well, I'm definitely looking forward to that, and I'll be down in Atlanta in November for a film conference. I'll be speaking on a panel down there. I'm really excited about that.
So you're invited. When you see what we have cooking in Atlanta, we are at Trilith Studios, where all the Marvel movies are made.
Nice.
Right in the thick of things. Mikasa, Sukasa, you're going to have to come on and, give these Atlanta students your wisdom, and then have you back at the Philly location too as well.
we're definitely going to have to do that. So
Yeah.
where can people find you on social media? Because we definitely got to have you followed on social media.
Cool. Tobi Gadison, TobiGadison, and the Actors District, like the District of Columbia on IG. If you plug in those two, and then online, our website, theactorsdistrictonline.com. Theactorsdistrictonline.com. I feel like Umar Johnson. Theactorsdistrictonline.com. you
Well,
know,
you got to
and on you got to do it 3 times.
you
And
got to put
and
it
on
out
Facebook.
there.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Well, Mr. Gadison, Tobi, brother, this has been absolutely amazing. You're definitely going to have to come back. It was definitely a pleasure talking with you. And I hope that when these young people listen to this podcast, they'll walk away with some gems on how to do the right thing in this business, because that is so very important. Just doing the right thing, because if you do the right thing, wow, the things that happen and the places your name will be mentioned. When you do the right thing, it is unbelievable.
That's
When
right.
you walk, when you walk that walk and talk that talk, and you're a person of integrity, and you're a person of credibility.
Doors open in ways just because you're that. You don't even have to be the most talented person in the room. You just have to be loyal to, you know what I mean? You just have to have that, and people just have to be able to trust you.
Yeah, that is huge. And I've seen people that weren't as talented get picked over people way more talented, but your shit was suspect.
The juice ain't worth the squeeze. Yeah, you talented, but I don't feel like dealing with your attitude.
And you know what? That is so true, because it's like, not today. No.
Yeah, I don't feel like hearing all of that whining and complaining and entitlement of what you think you deserve and so forth and so on. Like, no. Not if I'm a producer and now there's right is right. Don't get it twisted. You know what I'm saying? Don't get abused on set and things of that nature. I'm just saying, don't be don't be unnecessary.
Yeah. Don't think you're bigger than the team.
Right.
People think they're bigger than the team. Look, Joe Montana got traded. Marinate on that. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us tonight on the conversation with. It was so nice having the good brother Derek Hammond come through. Now, you talking about a name with some credibility and integrity. That brother right there is an absolutely amazing filmmaker in Philadelphia. He's doing some amazing things. But ladies and gentlemen, if you liked the podcast, please make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel, Floyd Marshall Jr. Make sure that you also subscribe on Apple Podcasts. That is so very important. We want to push this out to the masses. We want to have you see and hear more people such as Tobi Gadison. So again, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel, Floyd Marshall Jr.
Yes.
Make sure you subscribe to the podcast on Apple. I'm on all podcast platforms, but I would love you to subscribe on Apple and leave a review. Please. If you like the show, if you didn't like the show, if you want to see someone else, if you said, Floyd, you should have asked them these questions. I really want to hear all of that, because my main thing is I'm here to learn, and I can learn a lot from the audience. That's why I love doing these, because this is always a masterclass for me, because I learned some stuff tonight, which is absolutely amazing. So I'm going to leave the parting words with you, Mr. Gadison. Any parting words?
Yeah. Love God, love yourselves, love your families. Time is tight out here.
That's beautiful. And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, as I always say, love this like a hobby, but above all else, treat it like a business. And on that note, everyone have an absolutely phenomenal night. Peace.
Peace, love, and soul.